Most of us know what a scorigami is, when the final score of an NFL game is one that has never occurred in the history of the league. But what about other statistically scarce occurrences out on the gridiron? I'm not talking about odd stat lines or unbreakable records. I'm talking about obscure or maybe even things that have never happened, like a 1-point safety. Rare NFL stats are coming up right after this. Father's Day is coming up, and you might be perplexed as to what to get your dad for a gift. Well, guess what? Dads grow hair too. In fact, a lot of it. First, we have the beard hedger, and if your dad is like most dads, aka me, he's grown a face mat because it's hiding his ever-rounding jawline. This is the best beard trimmer hands down. I use it almost daily. 7,200 RPM and a titanium-coated T-blade, 20 different lengths, but only one guard. It's waterproof and cordless. I love that you can take the guard off and shape up your beard to a 0 level. As always, we have the classic Lawnmower 4.0, which uses skin-safe ceramic blades for smooth below-the-waist grooming. Again, cordless and waterproof with over 7,000 RPM of cutting power. And finally, we have the Weed Whacker 2.0, the ear and nose trimmer that your dad definitely needs. Still undecided? You can get the Lawnmower and Weed Whacker all in one kit, the Performance Package 4.0, which comes with 2 free gifts and other grooming products. Buy it for dad? Forget about it. Where do you get it? Head on over to manscaped.com/5-points and get 20% off and free shipping. Again, that's manscaped.com/5-points from the link below. Get 20% off and free international shipping. Have dad join over 8 million men who trust Manscaped. I do. Marcus Jones' rookie season. Marcus Jones had a fantastic rookie year for the New England Patriots in 2022. In fact, it was so good. It's never happened before. Drafted out of Houston in the 3rd round, Jones won the starting cornerback and returning job out of the gate. His first ever TD wouldn't come until week 11 versus the New York Jets, when he notched an 84-yard punt return for a game-winning score. 2 weeks later, Jones would score on a 48-yard play from Mac Jones in a 24-10 loss to the Bills. And finally, in week 16, Jones notched a 69-yard, nice pick 6 to complete the first ever season where a player scored a TD on offense, defense, and special teams, proving that just like Chaz and Winning Crashers, if you got game, you can score in almost any setting.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
The New York Jets beating the Philadelphia Eagles. It's hard to believe that 2 teams that have been part of the NFL since the merger have played each other 12 times, and one of them has won them all. Yes, the Eagles have beaten the Jets every single time they have played, with the first matchup coming in 1973 and the most recent in 2021, a 33-18 win for the Eagles, obviously. That's actually not a scorigami, it happened once before. The most lopsided win came in 1977 when the Eagles won 27-0, and the closest game was in 1996 when the Jets, in typical Jets fashion, blew a 20-7 fourth quarter lead and lost 21-20. Jets gonna jet. The Eagles have also never lost to the expansion Texans in 6 games, and the Texans have never beaten the Vikings in 5 games, making them the only team to be winless against 2 teams in the NFL because, well, the Texans kinda ass and they are an expansion team, so cut them some slack. The New England Patriots or the Jacksonville Jaguars tying a game. 2 NFL teams have never, ever recorded a tie game. One makes sense. The Jaguars are an expansion team that first played in 1995. In over 450 NFL games, they have recorded 0 ties. Bravo. The Patriots have played nearly double the NFL games the Jags have, and though they had 9 ties when they played in the AFL since they joined the NFL officially in 1970, they have not recorded a single tie. Just like Bill Belichick on the sideline, ties are for losers. NFL games on a Wednesday. When the Steelers played the Ravens on Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020, it marked one of the rarest events in history in an NFL game on a Wednesday. Because of COVID protocols and such, the Ravens and Steelers had to wait until they had enough players, and the Steelers won 19-14 in a game which Trace McSorley threw a touchdown.
They call me Trace McSorley.
10 million people watched the afternoon contest because it was 2020, and we were all at home wondering if anyone was going to rob our house or if the COVID was going to kill us. The NFL actually intentionally played a game on a Wednesday night in 2012 when the Giants played the Cowboys Cowboys to kick off the season as to not conflict with politics, because we all know America would choose football all day. Before that, the last Wednesday game was in 1949. 4 NFL games have been played on a Tuesday, and a Friday game was played in 2005, with one being scheduled for Black Friday in 2023. A game ending on a safety. Even with the new overtime rules, games are meant to end in a walk-off, not a bitch-ass tie. And that's usually in the form of a field goal, or even better, a touchdown. However, a regular season overtime game has only ended on a safety 3 times in NFL history. Once in 1989 when the Vikings beat the Rams on a blocked punt, again in 2004 when the Bears beat the Titans 19-17, and most recently in 2013 when the Dolphins beat the Bengals on Halloween night 22-20 when Cameron Wake sacked the shit out of Andy Dalton and walked it off. Bonus safety fact, the only time a team has scored all of their points off safeties was in 1923 when the Chicago Cardinals lost to the Racine Legion 10-4 and scored 2 safeties. Bonus safety fact, that's also the only time a team has ended a game with exactly 4 points. And yes, that was a scoregami, 10-4, roger that.
We have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
3 touchdowns scored in less than a minute by one team. The New England Patriots are the only franchise to have scored 3 touchdowns in less than a minute, doing it twice, once in 2012, 3 and 51 seconds in the second quarter against the Jets, and again in 2014 in the first half against the Bears. Of course, they would do that shit against the Jets, furthering the Patriots' legacy of dominance against Gang Green. And, it goes without saying, the Pats won both games. That feat is rare, but not as rare as this next one, a coin toss to decide a division title or playoff seeding. As we said earlier, ties suck, so the NFL has a bunch of tiebreakers put in place when teams finish with identical records to try and figure out which team is better. In fact, they have about 12 of them. If the teams played, they take the head-to-head record. Easy enough. Then they compare division records, then common games, then conference, then a bunch of other statistical categories like points scored and points allowed. Finally, after all that shit, if they're still tied, they just go to a freaking coin toss, which thankfully has never happened. Imagine if a team was excluded from the playoffs because of a coin flip. However, it has happened to determine draft order, but that is less consequential, and if it involves the Raiders, they're gonna fuck up their pick anyway. A punt return for a TD in the Super Bowl. When Kadarius Toney had a 65-yard punt return in Super Bowl 57, it was the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. Incidentally, his huge play also produced the most salt ever when Giants fans began bitching at their television.
Look at this guy! Look at how salty he is! Kadarius Toney is making noise!
Here's the thing, no one has ever taken a punt return to the house in the Super Bowl. Yes, there have been plenty of kick returns that have touched the promised land, but in 57 contests, there hasn't been a house call for punt returners. So if you're looking for a decent prop bet, that's an easy one. And finally, sorry I had to do it, the Detroit Lions winning a playoff game. Since the Super Bowl era, only one team has been so remarkably inept that they are pretty much synonymous with postseason failure and pain. And that is unsurprisingly the Detroit Lions. Yes, they won an NFL championship in 1957, but since then, playoff futility and the Lions go together like James Corden and mistreating waitstaff. The Lions have 1 playoff win in their entire Super Bowl era history, and that came way back in 1991. That means a person could have been born, had a couple kids, started saving for college, and have a sizable 401k and not see the Lions win a playoff game. Only 2 Lions players, Marvin Jones and long snapper Jake McQuaid, were even alive in 1991, and McQuaid was 3. There have been 4 expansion teams to join the league from scratch since then, and they all have playoff wins, even the shitty fucking Re-Browns. Can the Lions win a playoff game? Maybe, but this kind of sums it up.
A list of things that are, yes, technically possible, but we will probably never see in our lifetime. Starting off the list at number 1, we got you with some bitches.
I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.